It's Corso and Catone. Brought to you by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Now for the real deal New England feel. Corso and Catone.
Welcome into Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. I'm Corso. Mark had his head down, but there he is. Mark Catone is here.
Who else is here?
Joe, I thought you put your head down on the desk like you were asked to take a nap at school, Joe is with us in the booth, and you are watching us on YouTube, listening on 790 The Score, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, anywhere you podcast. Hey, make sure when you get on YouTube, subscribe, give us that thumbs up, and scan the QR code in the bottom of the screen. Take you all to our notifications so you never, ever, ever miss a show. Give us a call in Heated Hotline, 855-313-PATS, P-A-T-S, message line. We're going to pick one. Let it be yours, so have a take. Or you can email us in our mailbag, corso.catone@gmail.com. Hey, we always have a good one, but today we have, in Weekly Rewind, we're going to go back to San Francisco. Hey, the title of the show in Pat's Nation, right, last week, Joe, was Don't Leave Your Heart in San Francisco.
Oh, we left it there. We definitely did that. We left more than that.
We left a lot more than that in San Francisco. We'll talk about that Weekly Rewind. And, of course, Catone's comments. You never want to miss that. All the pearls. He picked special things, he said last week. It's a very sacred, special selection. So stick around to see what that is.
Because he likes to interrupt and interject when it's my segment, Joe.
Oh, yeah. What we do. Well, got to keep that New England feel going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, this one's mine, so shut up. And in Yankees versus Red Sox, it looks like it's going to be the KC Royals, right, Mark? So we'll talk
it is. It's
about
KC Royals.
Yeah, we'll talk about all that. And, of course, B's and C's. You're going to start to see more of that now as they come around. Talk goalie today a little bit. So stick around for that. Gentlemen.
Hey,
guys.
How are we feeling this week?
Hey, at least we have a home game this week, Chris.
1 o'clock.
The Patriots,
a lot of tailgating.
This week, right? Yeah.
A lot of tailgating. Miami Dolphins. No Tua. Score should be like 3-2 with a safety.
How many people you think are actually going to go to that game?
It's going to be.
Well, I can't give the tickets away. So.
Oh, you can't give them away?
Yeah, nobody wants those.
It's going to be a sea of orange and turquoise in the stadium.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed with the fan base right now, to tell you. Very disappointed. We're going to go back to the bench days, the aluminum bench days where the maniacs were in that joint.
Yeah,
that's what we need. But we do also have to go back into the week in Weekly Rewind, talk a little bit about this San Fran game. We're going to do it. We're going to do it now. Going back through the week for the Weekly Rewind. Okay, so 30-13, go out to the West Coast and San Fran, and Joe was very excited about that win. Yeah, Joe? You happy? Hope you're happy now, Joe. Hope you're happy.
You guys got to cut it with that, man. We're all Patriots all the time over here, but yes, it was.
Yes, he's excited.
Yes.
Yeah.
By the way,
win.
I told you we were going to get beat by more than the 10.5 point spread. I told you that.
He did. I needed them to cover that spread just so that I wouldn't have to listen to that right there, But all right, Mark, let's talk about the offensive side of things in this debacle. And let's start with the quarterback, as we always do. So, Brissett, do we bother? He was 19 of 32 for 168 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 real bad pick six. Sacked 6 times, QBR rating of 26. Okay, so talk about your
QBR rating of what?
26.4.
Okay, I thought that was a mistake. All right, 26.
No, he had an overall rating of 70.8. I don't know what any of that crap means.
Who knows what it is? Bottom line, he stunk. He stunk.
Yeah.
How's that? He stunk. Yeah, he stunk. Okay. Simple. Chris, listen, a couple of things that epitomized the entire day. The pick six, which I said there would be a pick six. If you listen to Pat's Nation, I said pick six, strip sack. There was a strip sack, and San Francisco would be +2 or 3 in the turnover battle. and they were. So if you just tune into Corso and Catone, I'm sorry, Pat's
You don't
Nation,
even have to watch the game.
You're not going to watch the game because Pat's Nation, we were right on last week. But listen, two plays, Chris, epitomized this what happened. The pick six, okay?
Yeah.
I don't know what play was called at the line of scrimmage, okay? However, based on what I saw on film, Chris, so Tyquan Thornton couldn't get off the line of scrimmage, something you've been screaming about since he was drafted. So he was supposed to, Chris, actually be the guy who that ball was going to, because Pop Douglas was supposed to drag the linebacker with him.
Yeah.
But because Thornton screwed up and was so late getting off the line of scrimmage, I don't know what Brissett was reading, Chris.
Did he get pressed? Did he get pressed on the line?
Who Thornton? Of course he did. Of course he did. I don't know what Brissett was reading. Was it just this is where he's supposed to be, turn that way and throw, Chris, and not really look, because that's where the receiver's supposed to be, maybe? Because the linebacker was just sitting there for the pick. But Pop Douglas is cutting across the middle of the field, Chris. There's nobody. I mean, nobody.
No, it's a touchdown.
You're screaming, it's a touchdown. What are you doing? All you do is get him the ball. Douglas, Chris, is jumping up and down, screaming.
No, yeah, I was screaming. There he is. There he is. There he is.
Yeah, and Douglas was disgusted. And the other one, Chris, was a basic screen pass to Ramondre Stevenson. You can't even get your lineman lined up correctly. Never mind the play itself. Like a basic screen pass, you can't even operate that properly. That epitomized the whole day, Chris, with those two plays to me. Never mind, and we get into everything else, but
what Mark's talking about is either, and it's a good observation, a real good one. When they run the screen, where the offensive line was set up in front, looked like it either needed to be. You ever see somebody take a picture and they say, "All right, everybody move to the left," and they all move at the same time? Yeah. Well, the whole offensive line looked like they should have been more to the left from the offensive perspective, or Stevenson exited the backfield too far to the left and not behind the line. The bottom line, he's right. It's a good look, Mark. I mean, it wasn't in sync. Period. End of story. And just like everything else, I had Brissett responsible for about 2 sacks. And I heard Bedard say this too. We got a lot of Greg Bedard today. We got a lot of audio on Greg Bedard because he brings up a lot of points that we like, that we talk about. And, it's intelligent, Bedard of Boston Sports Journal. So yeah, I mean, I had him responsible
what
for
did you
2 sacks.
See on that interception?
Yeah, I mean, I saw the same thing. I mean, Thornton looked like it was a crappy route. Maybe it's because of the pressure that Brissett should say, look, one read, throw it. And it was a good play by Warner. It was a good catch. It's not like it was right to him. But, yeah, I saw the same thing. I mean, you got to sit. You got to scan the field. And he had a pretty clean pocket. It was very early in the game, so it wasn't like he was getting knocked around yet. So, yeah, it's on him, all on him. He had a bad day. He also, I got him for 2 sacks, 1 hit. He's not setting his protections better. He's not doing enough to help his offensive line. He's not getting them out of bad plays. I saw on a 3rd and short, the defense was overloaded to one side, and they were running there. You get him out of that. I mean, you got to get to another play on that. And I don't see him doing that and hear a lot about that this week. And San Fran's defense is not complicated. They're not a complicated defense that they run. They're good at it, but it's not complicated.
And Chris, so San Fran's defense was missing multiple starters.
Yeah.
On top of it.
Yeah. So, he's not seeing the field well. It's not a good situation for Brissett. And Mark, moving to the rest of the offense now. Okay. Well, let's talk about the offensive line. Okay. Because, I mean, we think with the wide receivers, there were 32 total attempts. 19 went to the wideouts. The percentages weren't that great for them. And they're frustrated. I mean,
Polk in particular and Douglas showed their frustration on the field, Chris, which isn't a good look.
No, and we're going to get to that when we talk about coaching, to see what kind of control he's got of this team. But the offensive line, Mark, okay, once again, he was hit like 16 times. sacked 6 times. 40 to 50% of the time he's on there, and they're not blitzing it. They weren't blitzing it. The
Chris,
Bosa was
sacked,
like a
sacked,
turnstile.
yeah, Chris, he was sacked 6 times, but there was 3 or 4 more times where he just got the ball away and threw it into the ground. That Bosa was hanging on his back. I was just going to say that about Bosa.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a turnstile over there. I mean, you think about, and overall, and Joe, do we have that Bedard overview?
We do.
Yeah, let's play that right now because I want to.
It's not good. It's worse than I thought. I mean, you guys talk about this being a bad team, and they are right now. But, I would say, we knew coming in that they had below average talent, at best. I think they had below average talent. But, with proper coaching, you figured that they would be coached up a little bit and have the potential to be a little bit better than their talent. That is decidedly not happening on both sides of the ball. It's not just the offense, it's also the defense. There are all sorts of things going on that are going wrong. The amount of blown edges that I thought was a lot last week or the end of Seattle on defense was even more. It was double, triple in this game. You have Devon Godchow going on radio talking about how some of the players are playing selfish. You have wide receivers in Pop Douglas and Jalen Polk who are throwing temper tantrums
at the end
after
of the game.
Plays. To me, and I'm just telling you what I see on film, I see a team that's unraveling at this point.
In week 4.
Wow.
Of course, Greg Bedard of the Boston Sports Journal, that's what he said this week. And I wanted to play that because it highlights a lot of the points that we talked about, especially when we get to the defense in a couple of minutes, talking about edge and all the other stuff. But he talks about the offensive line and getting hit. I mean, look, it's trending down. Since Cincinnati, there was 1 sack. Seattle, 3 sacks. Jets, 5, and now 6 against San Francisco.
And David Andrews is now probably out for the year, Chris, on top of it.
So now you're going to have Leverett over there. So you're looking at an offensive line that consists of Jacobs, who was beaten like a drum at left tackle by Bosa and company. I mean, it was like a turnstile. You got Sidney So, you got Leverett that's going to play center, Robinson and Owinu. It's a bad situation for this offensive line. And when we get to coaching, we're going to talk about, are they doing enough to help this offensive line? But Mark, playing Drake May, how can you put somebody like that behind this offensive line at this point?
Well, listen, with David Andrews going out, Chris, that makes it even worse because, I mean, the center, Chris, helps to set the protections and helps to set things up and call things out on the offensive line, Chris. He's like the catalyst of that line. So without him, you're going to, I guess Brissett can take over some of that. I mean, he is a veteran quarterback, but you're going to put a rookie behind that because Everett's not going to be able to do the things for the line that Andrews was able to do, Chris. So somebody's going to, that's what I'm saying. So now all of a sudden you're going to put May behind the guy that's not even a center, really?
No.
Yeah, now you got a problem. If you wanted to put May in there sooner, I don't think you can, Chris. I think at this point, it's, maybe the last 4 or 5 games, you throw him in to get some work, see what he looks like, give him some experience. But you can't put him in before that, Chris. Not with Andrews going down, too.
Yeah, I mean, they've dropped. I mean, the NFL rank last year, I mean, they pretty much stayed the same in offense, 29 so far. Defense has dropped 9th to 27th. I mean, this team is a bad football team all around, from top to bottom. And when I say top, I'm talking about in the owner's booth too. It's from top to bottom. This is a bad football team, and Stevenson keeps putting the ball on the freaking ground.
Yeah,
this is 4 weeks in a row now. He's fumbled the ball.
It's 4 weeks in a row, and he's gotten away with it the first couple of weeks, Chris, because he fell on it. But now,
you can't do it. You're not good enough to turn the ball.
Can't do it.
So I mean, the turnovers. You can't look. You have to be ahead on turnovers. You can't even be even, Mark.
No, you're not good enough, Chris.
To do that. I mean, Patriots turned the ball over 3 times and San Fran 2. So, and moving, Mark, to the defensive side of the ball. Okay. They seem to have gotten a pass a little bit. Did you feel like that? Look, here are the numbers I told you. They were 9th in defense last year. They're 27th this year. 831 yards total offense against them in 2 games. 431 yards offense, Mark. That's where do we begin?
So I think some of I've heard this week, Chris. Well, there's no Bondmore. There was no Jennings last week. There's no Bentley. Duggar went out of the game. Didn't Duggar go out early in the game?
Yeah.
On Sunday. So they're using those as excuses. But Chris, last year, Judon was out. And Gonzalez was out. There was 3-4 guys out last year too. But Belichick was able to compensate for that, Chris, because he could scheme. Listen, you and I said it before the season started. They're going to miss Belichick because Belichick made up for the deficiencies in that defense. Forget, his son and Mayo. That's a bunch of BS. And we said it before the season started, Chris, that he was the one who was scheming and putting things in place to protect against their weaknesses last year. That's gone. You've criticized Covington a couple of weeks in a row. Covington's not covering for anything, Chris. He can't compensate for their deficiencies on defense. He's not smart enough of a defensive coordinator to do that at this point in his career. He can't do it. He's already shown that.
And who else doesn't? I don't want to hear about injuries, and Bedard doesn't want to hear about injuries either. Joe, let's play that.
I see an undisciplined front, and I don't want to hear any crying about injuries, which I've heard. Last year, they didn't have Judon. They didn't have Christian Gonzalez. They didn't have Jonathan Jones. They didn't have Marcus Jones. They had injury issues last year. Coaching made it work. They made it work. I just see a completely undisciplined unit. I see guys that are out for their own. We talked about it last week on radio where I brought up, looks like some of these guys are freelancing, and I think there are so many gaps in the coverage. Way too much zone being played. The predictable zone, the Tampa 2. You have Jelani Tavai down the middle. Porch, not his thing. Coaches putting him in the position for that. It's just not good. And they have no, like Belichick said, no pass rush. The blitz wasn't working this week. Just like the offense, not a lot working on defense.
No, there isn't. Greg.
Chris, what is that Tampa? Chris, what is that Tampa 2 with Tavai covering the deep center of the field? What is that about? He got beat 2 or 3 times on that Sunday.
What did we talk about when we on Pat's Nation, when we talked about keys to victory? I said, you cannot leave the middle of the field open. You can't make Tavai cover anybody. He has enough trouble tackling anybody in the run game. Now you got him out in space, and he's trying to cover Cross's Kittle.
Chris, they had that. That happened at least 2 or 3 times that I can remember. That was the defensive call.
Yeah, it's not. He's not good enough. To me, he's not good enough. He's a special teams guy. That's how I see Tavai. He's a special teams player at best. He's not a starting middle linebacker in this league. No, come on, get away from me. And I agree with Bedard. Look, no edge. We start there.
Oh,
okay, that's where we begin. Keon White had an awful day, and so did Uche, whatever the hell he wants to be called now. Uche.
No, this was Keon White's probably worst game of the season, and Uche was terrible also. You're right, Chris.
Awful. No edge. I mean, I saw on the 3rd and 13, let Purdy out. I said it last week. If you do what you did with Rodgers and you let him out and he's sitting out there in that flat, Rodgers just picked you apart out there. Purdy's going to take off and run, and he did throughout the day. He moved around. He found guys, and that's what happened. So the edge sucked.
It was even like Kittle was even kicking White in on the outside. It wasn't even he was getting hit. He was getting beat by linemen, Chris. Kittle was kicking him inside and manhandling him. White had a real bad game.
A real bad game. And then, 207 yards at the half. I mean, that's unacceptable. 431 yards total.
They gave up 400 yards. And we talked about this, after the game. San Francisco shot themselves in the foot a couple of times, Chris, with penalties and stupid penalties illegal formations,
they had 6 penalties.
and Chris, they probably would have had close to 500 yards on offense
and more points.
And more points. Yes.
So
and last week, Chris was the same.
Yeah. And the same we'll talk, and then talking about the secondary. Okay. So once Duggar went out, like that kid, for example, that Kittle touchdown. Okay.
Yep.
That wasn't on Marcus Jones for stopping in his coverage and not continuing on with Kittle. That was on Pettis. Because you had Purdy made the wrong read. I mean, he made the wrong read. Chris. Well, you had Deebo Samuel running a slant down on the goal line area, okay? And Pettis, who's I call it a banjo. It's basically first in, first out. So the first guy out is going to be the corner who takes him, which would have been Marcus Jones. That's Kittle. And the first man in would have been Deebo Samuel. That's going to be the safety's job, and that was Pettis. Pettis goes with Kittle, and now Marcus Jones sees Deebo Samuel wide open, and he stops for a second because I got to go there, I guess, because he's wide open. Purdy makes the wrong read and throws to Kittle.
So Purdy should have thrown to Samuel.
Absolutely. It was wide open on a slant because the safety didn't come down on it. So the safeties were bad. Hasty was just as bad. Covington, I said he played man too much. Now he played zone too much.
He overcompensated, Chris.
He overcompensated. But there's Tampa too, but there's no disguise. They're just sitting with two safeties out there. It's so simple to beat. And that's why you're giving up 831 yards of offense in 2 weeks, Mark. That's it. There it is. In a nutshell, that's the offense and the defensive breakdown from
Chris,
that San Fran game.
Giving up that many points in that much yardage in 2 weeks, how can you even make an excuse for this defense when you've given up over 800 yards in 2 weeks?
You can't. And time of possession was pretty even in this game. So you can't say, well, the
offense. So you
offense
can't blame that, right?
No, you can't. So, that is the breakdown of the offense and the defense. And so this portion of Weekly Rewind was presented by the Pats Nation, Sundays, 8 a.m. Eastern. You heard Mark talking about it earlier in this segment. Tune in. We're going to be the first pregame show for every Patriots game. So make sure you're sticking around for that. When we come back, going to stay in Weekly Rewind, going to talk a little coaching and so much more.
Sundays are for football. And here in New England, that means it's the Pats Nation with Corso and Catone.
You have the worst wide receiver room in the National Football League.
This is why the Patriots need us in the draft room. Let's see what the Pats Nation thinks about that, Mark.
Starting June 30th, Sundays, 8 to 9 a.m. on 790 The Score.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. I think Joe's queuing something up, right? He sent me something in my ear, Joe. What are we playing now? Got Belichick ready? Play it if you have it.
The ball and can't score. Got a touchdown off the field goal on 63-yard field goal, whatever it was, or field goal, and then got a touchdown off the fumbled kickoff. But otherwise had a hard time moving the ball. I think there are some pass rush issues there. There are some, scoring issues, and the Joey Sly is a great, that's a great addition for him. They got a good kicker. That's a big upgrade from where we were last year.
It's how bad things are. It was called Bill Belichick earlier in the week. I think it was on the Pat McAfee show. Talking about the overall, I mean, he's like he must be ear to ear on this. Ear to ear.
Of course he is. He's laughing.
Yeah. So,
he's laughing.
But to his point, Mark, let's talk about this coaching staff, okay? And by the way, special teams has been fantastic. Just as a footnote, I mean, they've been great. The kicking game has been great. The coverage great. All of it.
Chris, I don't think we heard it in this clip, and I don't know if it's in another clip. But Belichick also refers to the fact that when they ask him about Drake May, and Belichick was, I guess he has a plan about Mayo for him. I guess he has a plan.
Right.
You want to talk about talking about coaching?
Yeah, I guess he has a plan. Yeah. So talking about Mayo, Mark, I mean, he's over his head. I mean, he's not taking control. His game management is bad now from game to game. Things he should challenge. He's not dropping the flag. Timeouts, end of half, end of game, the middle 8, the things
there was a play in the first quarter that they gave a first down to San Francisco, first and goal, and I think it ended up getting brought back because of a penalty. But the ball clearly hit the ground. He doesn't throw the red flag, Chris.
No, and I think that was the Kittle catch, wasn't it?
Might have been. Might
You
have
know,
been. Yeah, he doesn't
where
go
it
to
was
fight.
dragged across the ground. And you got to have somebody upstairs to be able to talk to you. Now he says he does. He's got somebody up there, but I just feel like these guys, the game's moving too quick, and I just don't. They've been out coached now 3 games in a row. You know,
Yes,
and so, you know, he's too wishy washy. You know, he said, well, you know, after the Jets game, we're going to give guys a few days off, and you know, guys are starting to turn. And in week 4 of this new regime, put it this way, for a 6th round pick, okay, if you got is he 6th round? Where was Pop Douglas taken?
He was
5th?
a 6th round pick. He was a 6th round, fifth.
For
I think he was 6th.
For a 6th round pick to be throwing his hands up in the air, acting like the way he's acting, walked off the field in the last play, and somebody had to sub him out. He took himself out of the game because he's frustrated. For that crap to be happening 4 games into a new coach, what's it going to be like 14 games in?
But Chris, listen. You brought up at the beginning of this from the top down, and you said including ownership. But ownership has seen this act before, Chris. They saw it with Pete Carroll. When Pete Carroll was here, he was younger. He was a player's coach. A lot of what we're seeing with Mayo happened when Carroll was here. As Carroll got older, when he went to Seattle, he changed a bit. He became more mature. He was able to handle situations differently. But when he was here, he was Gerard Mayo, Chris. They got rid of him and hired Belichick.
Right. Yeah, listen.
But I don't understand what they thought they were getting in Mayo.
There's so many points. There's so many things you can go to. Look at the image. Look at how they're viewed. Okay, here's an example. San Francisco. Okay, there's 58 seconds left in the half. Okay.
Yeah.
There's 58 seconds left in the half, and I think they're up 20, whatever it is. San Fran calls a timeout with 58 seconds on a 3rd and 15 from their own 10. Their own 10 or their own 15-yard line. Now,
something like that,
you would never do something like that normally. You'd let the clock run as much because you don't want to give the team the ball with good field position and time to come down and get points before the half. You don't want to do that. San Fran calls a timeout. That's saying I have no respect, 0 respect for their offense. I'm going to try to get a play for 3rd and 15. And then they punted, and guess what happened? Patriots are going to do anything with it. They're a joke. Gerard Mayo's a joke right now in the league, and he's a joke, starting to become a joke in the locker room.
You know, he is. And you know what was interesting?
He was the wrong hire, Mark. He was the wrong hire.
It's definitely the wrong hire. But what you said, Chris, during the game was very interesting. I want our viewers to hear. You said to me, Mark,
Joe, he said something interesting.
What? No, yes. I'm giving you a compliment. Imagine this, Joe. Tape this because you won't hear it again the rest of the season.
Date, time, and location. Go ahead.
There's snow outside.
Chris, you said, look, San Francisco, it's almost like you're approaching this like a preseason game. It's a joke. Like they would joke, like it's almost like it's like a preseason game to them. Like, look at the way they're playing out. Like, and I'm looking and I'm saying, well, you know what? Yeah, it almost is that type of an approach because they had no respect for us.
There was nothing complicated about what San Fran was doing. They showed nothing. Ridiculous. It was. Mark, talk about Alex Van Pelt because I've already talked about Covington a little bit, so we'll stay off that. But look, the offensive line's bad. Okay, we know they're bad.
We get
Jacoby Brissett, not good.
Nope.
What can he be doing? He's got to be able to be doing something else.
And so I heard this week, Chris, a few people say, well, you know, it's not his fault because, you know, what has he got to work with? He's got nothing to work with. He's doing the best he can with what he has. That's a bunch of BS. Okay. Yeah. There's things you can do. They're last in the league in motion. Okay. In motion pre-snap, they're last in the NFL. All right. There's nothing. You mean to tell me there's nothing he can do to try and create something to lessen the turnstile coming off the edge of Bosa last week? You couldn't call anything to try and slow that down, Chris? Come on. There's still no underneath routes. There's no rub routes. The things that you've been talking about for 3 weeks, Chris, he still hasn't implemented. So don't tell me there's nothing he can do to try to add some innovation to this offense. Listen, I don't give a care whether or not you think they can do it or not. I don't want to see Tyquan Thornton on an NFL field again. And I don't want to see KJ Osborne on a field because I think he stinks too. I want to see Butte. Why isn't this kid Baker on the field? Polk and Osborne, Polk and Douglas having temper tantrums. Put Baker on the field. What the hell's wrong with Baker? No, who cares what he's showing in practice? Put Boothby out there with Baker, with Polk, with Douglas, and see what the hell you got. Spread them out and go into the shotgun.
Too conservative. No bunch formation. No bubble screens to go over those ends. No wide receiver screens really that much. No slip screens. I don't see, like you say, rub routes across the middle. If you're insistent on putting 12 personnel out there and putting friggin' tight ends on the field, at least rub for them on 3rd and short. Get them in and out of good plays. Chip on the ends. Get the tight end.
Chris, that's what I was waiting for. I didn't see any of it.
No, I mean, Ramondre Stevenson blew a block in this game where you got.
Well, now this week they're saying, they're saying Van Pelt, they're hinting, he may not start this week, Stevenson.
Big deal.
That's a big deal.
Who else can we get to start at offensive coordinator this week? Mark, I don't know. I mean, I don't think he should survive. I don't think he should be here next year. I don't.
He'll be here next year, Chris.
I'm available.
Yeah.
Well, Chris,
you do better.
Listen, this year supposedly is a free year because Cleveland's still paying his salary. And from what I heard this week from I was listening to Phil Perry, and Phil Perry said that he thinks that they might have given him a 2-year on top of this free year, which means after what they paid Belichick to get rid of him, Chris, he said, you're going to own this guy for 1 more year. They won't eat 2 years of a contract. They'll eat 1. They'll give him another year. And that'll be the end of that. Well, and like you said, Chris, you might as well kiss Drake May goodbye. If you're
gonna eat Drake 2 of 5 for Drake May. It's what you're gonna eat.
With this cartoon character,
this clown, and then he's gonna have to get another guy to learn another system and all that other crap.
Another system.
That's good.
Yep.
Who's and we gotta go, but Elliot Wolf, I want show your face and tell guys like Bedard who asked you questions about the offensive line. Yeah, we got everything we need in this room. Do you? Do you really? You really got everything you need in this room, you jackass. They did everything. They did everything wrong. Everything wrong. So, I'm disgusted. Weekly Rewind was presented by Corso Law Group, CorsoLawGroup.com. Hey, we come back. Buckle up. Catone's comments is next.
No one ever thinks they'll be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Whether it's a traffic ticket or more serious issue, go to CorsoLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys.
Time for Catone's comments.
So this week, I just want to acknowledge the death of Pete Rose, one of the greatest hitters of all time. He's the hits leader, so he's got to be, right? He's the all-time hits leader in Major League Baseball, over 4,000 hits. And he passes away without being put in the Hall of Fame. Major League Baseball ought to be ashamed of themselves because he gambled on baseball. Really? Because Ty Cobb was such a stand-up human being, and he's sitting in the Hall of Fame. Babe Ruth, listen, he was a Yankee. He's an all-time great. Do you honestly, you think he was a stand-up guy? Really? I mean, are you kidding me? Listen, he never bet against the Cincinnati Reds. What he did, was it wrong? Yes. You want to suspend him from being eligible for anything in Major League Baseball for 5 years? Okay, fine. You did your time, and now you're eligible. You should have made him eligible again. Even through the veteran committee, somebody should have made this man eligible. A lifetime ban? When you're promoted now by DraftKings, DraftKings is promoting things. It's all that. Those are your major sponsors, for crying out loud. And you ban this man for life? For life. Really? So the poor man, his family, he dies, and he's never going to be in the Hall of Fame? That's a disgrace. Major League Baseball ought to be ashamed of themselves. You know what? You're hypocrites. Because when this whole steroid issue was going on, you knew that these guys were doing steroids. Jose Canseco, whether you like him or not, I know he's got issues, and I believe him when he said 75% of the league was doing something. He said all you could do was walk in a locker room. There was PEDs in jars on counters. Like it was rampant. Everybody was doing something. in baseball at that point in time. And it was okay when Sosa and McGuire, after they had the work stoppage and all that, they had that great summer where they battled each other for the home run lead. And they brought all the fans back. It was McGuire and Sosa. And every night people were tuning in to see who hit a home run and who took the lead in the home run race. They were both chasing Roger Maris at the time. Right? But that was okay. Oh, no, that's okay. And then Bonds came along, and that was okay for baseball because it brought the fans back. Well, then, no, now they're banned too. They can't get in the Hall of Fame because they were doing steroids. You knew what they were doing, Major League Baseball. But now Roger Clemens, you can't come in. Nope, can't let you in. Nope, you were doing, HGH, steroids, whatever you want to call it. So you're not allowed in, but you knew they were doing it. So now all you're doing is now you change the rules. So now it's published in the CBA what your HGH level can be. And if you go over that level, then you get suspended. So now you've publicly let the players know so they can now calculate how much they're taking and when they're taking it. And if you're working with a doctor, it's very easy to beat the system because it's all there. So so you're still okay with it. Now you've actually publicized it to the players so they know what the level is. So they don't go over it. You're going to tell me Jared Duran didn't do steroids? Oh, he grew into his body, Cora said. One of the biggest cheaters in all of baseball, Alex Cora. Oh, he grew into garbage. What he grew into his body, that's a bunch of horse shit he grew into his body. He did five or six cycles during the offseason and made sure that he stayed under the limit by the time training camp came around, spring training, and they tested him. His body is completely different. You don't think Giancarlo Stanton did steroids? Love him. He's a Yankee. But come on. Are you kidding me? Really? Jorge Ohtani. Take a look at Ohtani's body when he came up and what he looks like now. He's thick. His neck, his whole body has changed from when he came here from Japan. But he's not doing anything because he's another model citizen. He had the interpreter take the rap for him when he was gambling. So the interpreter's going to go to jail for him. So Major League Baseball, you're stained more than anybody. And you didn't put that man in the Hall of Fame. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, Major League Baseball. Ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, Mark, he's passionate about it because, he's right, Joe.
He's right.
Look, there's the problem that I have with it, Mark. Okay, it's the bridge. I can't build. You and I are probably the only two that are like in this camp. About you should be in the Hall of Fame, and it's a disgrace that he's not. Pete Rose, I'm talking about.
Because baseball's full of crap, Chris. They knew everything that was going on with the steroid. The steroid era is even a bigger joke. That's why.
But with Pete Rose, here's my problem with it. Okay, you gamble on sports, especially your own league, you're banned. Okay, that's it.
He never bet against the Reds, Chris.
No,
he only bet on them to win. Never bet against them.
And he did it as a coach, right?
Yeah, not as a player, as a coach.
Now, but here's the problem. Listen to this theory now, this thought process, because you tell me if it's flawed.
Yep.
I don't know the bridge between the ban and Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
So you say, okay, well, there's a lifetime ban on baseball, meaning you can't participate in baseball activities, in Major League Baseball activities for the rest of your life because you gambled. Okay, that's your policy. That's what you say. That's what it is. Fine. He's banned. What's the bridge that's built from there to the Hall of Fame? Are you saying that in the Hall of Fame is part of the Major League Baseball participation? Is that what you're saying? Because I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
The Hall of Fame is based on something that happened before. Okay, performance before. That's not what happens moving forward. So, in other words, you got a ban. You can't do something now. Okay, got it. But that doesn't mean that what you did as a player should be ignored.
So
I don't get the bridge
disqualify
that's built
him, right?
there. I don't see it. Now, maybe my argument's flawed. Maybe it doesn't make sense. But to me, it does. You can't build that bridge for me. You want to ban him from the sport? Ban him from the sport. But why are you banning him from the Hall of Fame? Where's that took place before? I don't get it. I don't get it. And I do think it's a disgrace. I think you're right, Mark.
Here's what they
It
should
is.
do: is just add an asterisk and put all the players that they banned in the asterisk in a separate section in the Hall of Fame and teach a lesson with them. These are why these people have an asterisk and a ban. And technically they're in, but they're not in because of what you just said, their stats and whatnot. But these are the reasons of life as to why they're banned. And use it as a section in the Hall of Fame to teach lessons of don't gamble, whatever it is, things like that, to that nature, and have its own section so that information is still there.
If they want to have a steroid era section, Joe's right, Chris. Okay,
No,
so
he's
put
not
those
right.
guys. No, but I'm just saying, Chris. But if that's what it's going to take to get guys like Clemens in, I'm okay with it. You want to have a steroid era players, because those guys should be in, Chris. You're not going to tell me Roger Clemens shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame.
But that's not getting in. That's not really getting in. I mean, I love you
No,
guys,
I
but I don't
know,
agree with that
I
crap. Because here's the
know.
thing. Oh, so you're going to wear a brand then? You're going to brand them with something? You can put them in or you don't put them in. Look, it's the Hall of Fame.
And they're
I'm
not going to put them in,
You
Chris.
put it. You don't need a separate section for these guys. That's ridiculous. We're going to put you in a box over here because like you first show me how go back, do more investigation on what took place in the past. Because again, if 70-80% of guys are doing it, look, you should let them in. I mean, it's
David
I disagree with
Ortiz
it.
is
I don't know.
David Ortiz is in the Hall of Fame. He couldn't hit the ball 100 feet when he was with Minnesota. He stunk. He was a 4A player with Minnesota, almost
Right.
out of the league. He goes to the Red Sox and hooks up with Manny Ramirez, a known steroid user, and all of a sudden Big Papi becomes a superstar. But Big Papi didn't do any cycles of anything during the offseason when he was in the Dominican Republic. Come on. Of course he did.
And Joe,
but
if
he
you
didn't get caught. He didn't get caught. So he's in the Hall of Fame. Okay.
Yeah, and Joe, if you're going to have a separate section, okay, that slippery slope, then you better go back and you better stop pulling guys out of the section that are in there now. Like you better start go pull Ty Cobb out of there. Go pull all the guys that were racist. Go pull all the guys that were womanizers. Go pull all the guys that had domestic violence issues, the drug cases, the drugs, the booze, the women, all those things that they did wrong. Let's pull those guys out and put them in a separate section too. It's all nonsense.
You know what, Chris? I agree with you. Joe, you don't know what you're talking about. Shut his mic off, Chris, for Christ's sake. Shut him off.
No, I respect your opinion. I do, of course. I respect
shut him
what
off
you're saying.
now.
But
Shut him off.
where's the line?
But the
Who's
thing is,
legislating that?
We're all saying the same things. We all think that he should be in.
Yes, yeah, we do.
Yes, we
At
are.
the end of the day, we all think
we are.
he should
We
be in.
are.
So it's
We
like
are.
I'm just
We
trying
are.
to give you some sort of another variable as to, all right, how do we do it that saves face? Even though there is no face
line.
because I know exactly. I agree with you, but it's like one of those things where it's like there are players back in history who have gotten reinstated, have not, still have a ban, should go in, and it's like there are a lot of other players out there who should also get in. But the same
baseball is it's just a joke. That's why they're struggling to get
purist of a
fans.
thing,
Yeah, too purist of a thing.
So I know we got to go, but you're right. I mean, Mark, listen, I'm with you on this. It's I don't know where you draw the line. I mean, where do you draw the line? Because technology changes. So the stuff you could do, like he said, the stuff you can do today now, if we're the same stuff they were doing then, that you're not letting them in for. Now you're allowed to do it. Technology changes. It's all nonsense. It's all popularity contest, and it's a bunch of dinosaurs voting for it, Mark. So,
that is true. That it's a bunch of dinosaurs voting. That's true.
So good stuff. Catone's comments was presented by the Pats Nation Sunday, 8 a.m. Eastern. First pregame show for the Patriots game. So make sure you're tuning in. When we come back, going to talk Yankees versus Red Sox. More Yankees than anything else. No flipping.
Sundays are for football. And here in New England, that means it's the Pats Nation with Corso and Catone.
You have the worst wide receiver room in the National Football League.
This is why the Patriots need us in the draft room. Let's see what the Pats Nation thinks about that, Mark.
Starting June 30th, Sundays, 8 to 9 a.m. on 790 The Score.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. Okay, so Yankees are in.
Yankees are in.
Red Sox are not. Let's discuss.
Red Sox are not.
Not gonna
Okay.
deny you that wash, baby.
I like it.
I like it.
I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Make sure you get on YouTube and check out these washes.
You have to check them out. They're good.
He works hard on them. They look good. They look damn good. And make sure while you're there, you subscribe and hit that button down there. Scan the QR code. All right, Mark. Yankees are going to be playing. Looks like the Kansas City Royals. Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
All
They're
right.
playing the Royals. Royals
Let's break
knocked out
this.
Baltimore.
So, would you say that they kind of have a Boston Celtics path?
Well, let's put it this way, Chris. The two wild card teams that got in, Detroit and Kansas City, both made the divisional round.
Yeah.
So Kansas City knocks out Baltimore, and Detroit knocks out Houston, which is our kryptonite. So yes, you could say we have a Boston Celtics type path. If you don't go to the World Series this year, Chris, I don't know what you do. I like you really got it's got to be a restart of some kind because this is your year to get in, right? Your kryptonite's not there. You struggled against Baltimore. They're not there. I mean, Cleveland, you've always played well against. You've always played well against Kansas City. Detroit is a hot team, so they're a little scary. They're a hot team. But, Chris, it's all there for you. You just, granted, Rizzo's out. Probably going to be out for the most of the playoffs. He broke his finger last week. I don't know what, of course, our bad luck. And Cortez, Nesta, is going to be out. And Nesta is a loss, Chris, because he could start and he could have came out of the bullpen. And he was pitching well the last 2.5 weeks. And he did something to his oblique. So you're probably not, if you see him, it wouldn't be until you probably made the World Series. But now, here's my issue with these wild card rounds, Chris.
Yeah.
It's not one game. It's 2 out of 3. Now you've been sitting a week. The type of team we have, game 1, Judge, Soto, all those guys. Your timing's off. You don't hit the 3-run homer, and you lose game 1. Right?
Now you're in trouble.
That's my concern is game 1 because you've been sitting.
It's almost an advantage to the teams that had to play.
Yeah.
Detroit, Kansas City. I mean,
It is. It really is when you think about it.
I mean, you get your pitching lined up. I get it, but But for the Yankees, particularly, who rely a lot on hitting, a lot on power hitting, and a lot on their big guys, to sit for a while, you lose a lot of momentum, especially Judge.
And Cole,
he's shown it in the past.
Yeah, and he's been Cole and Judge was red hot. He got hot again at the end. Almost, he ended up hitting 58. He almost made the 62 again. And but the Yankees, Chris, you said pitching's lined up. They've got Cole and they've got Rodon lined up. Your bullpen's fully healthy. Holmes is ready, cranked and ready to go. Clay Holmes for you. Okay. So listen.
Why?
Kansas City's bullpen,
put
Chris,
on a playoff roster.
Chris, game 2, Kansas City's the starter went 2 innings, Chris. The bullpen went 7 1/3 innings of no run baseball in game 2 to win that game for Kansas City. So, listen.
What, 3 days rest now? The bullpen.
Is 5 or 7
Saturday.
game series, Chris? I forget. It's
What?
7, right? The
what?
division round.
I got to look at that. Why did I think for some reason? What the hell league is it that's a best of 5?
Yeah, did they change?
I think it's
it used to be 7.
baseball, but but regardless of that, so my question on the Yankees is going to be this while you're looking that up, because okay, so we say they got a good path, they got the Kansas City path, kind of what you wanted.
Best of 5.
Yeah. So to me, there's no reason. Well, that makes your point then in a best of 5
yeah,
series.
you lose game 1, and now you got a problem, Chris.
So Cashman, and I want to just do a second on the Red Sox, but Cashman and Boone get fired if what happens? If they don't do what?
I think if they don't go to the World Series, Cashman and Boone should be fired. I don't think that'll happen. I think the only way they get fired is if they don't get by Kansas City. If they go to the AL, fire them. If they lose to Kansas City, they both get fired.
Boy, if the old man were here.
Oh, forget it. But I honestly do believe that that's what the son will do, Chris. If they get to the ALCS, he won't fire them. But if they lose to Kansas City, they both have to go. They have to, Chris. You can't keep them. They got to go.
They got to go to the World Series. They go to the World Series. That's it.
Prediction. Okay, let's call it right now. What's your prediction of the Kansas City series? I go Yankees in 4.
Kansas City in 5.
Wow.
If I'm gonna stay with what I said all season long, then I gotta pick. I gotta make that pick because all season long I said it's not gonna happen. They're not gonna be able to hit like that in the playoffs.
Okay,
It never happens.
No, I'm gonna say though.
When have you seen Judge hit like that in the playoffs?
No, but I'm gonna get by the first round. I'm not gonna talk about the next round yet, but I'm gonna say they win this round in 4.
Okay.
Gotcha. Now the Red Sox.
Yeah.
The Red Sox ownership.
Why not them? Why not them?
The owner, the GM, Alex Cora, they all ought to be ashamed of themselves, Chris, because at the break, at the trade deadline, Chris, Detroit was 5 games back at the trade deadline. And they're in the ALDS. They made a couple of moves. They brought up some more young guys. But Kansas City, same thing. Kansas City makes a move at the trade deadline for a closer from Oakland. He threw 2. He closed both games for them, throwing 99. They went and got him from Oakland. What did the Red Sox do? They went and got a couple of 4A guys and a pitcher who pitched an inning and got hurt, Paxson.
So why can't they beat Detroit? Why can't they beat KC?
Why can't they beat Detroit or KC? They ought to be ashamed of themselves with the
or even Baltimore, for that matter.
Or Baltimore. They should have brought up the young guys and said, "Screw it, we're going to take a shot with the young guys." And they should have did something to try to get into the wild card.
85, 86 wins. Yeah.
Look what happens, Chris. Both wild card teams advance, and you said it all year, Chris. All you're going to do is make the wild card if you're the Red Sox because those teams advance every year, and they did it again, Chris. They advanced.
6 out of the 6 highest payroll teams made the playoffs. 4 of 6 are left, and so there's that. But you can they certainly could have done more, and they should be ashamed of themselves. And John Henry couldn't care less because
he could care less. John Henry don't care.
So that's our breakdown. We'll see what happens. We'll be tracking this every step of the way through the playoffs. So let us know what you think in Heated Hotline. But Yankees versus Red Sox was presented by Corso Law Group, corsolawgroup.com. Hey, we come back, going to talk some B's and C's. Stick around.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. Whether it's a traffic ticket or more serious issue, talk with these expert attorneys. CorsoLawGroup.com.
Strongly believe that Jeremy wants to play here. I've asked him flat out, do you want to play here? And he does. I believe that they'll get a deal done. It's unfortunate it's not done today.
I don't have a definitive update in any way other than where I was with Jeremy. Continued consistent communication with his representatives, but we still have a gap to bridge, and we're going to try and continue to do that.
I don't want to get into the weeds with what his ask is, but I know that I have 64 million reasons why I'd be playing right now.
I certainly don't begrudge somebody for a big paycheck. We're writing a big one ourselves to make sure that we have a winning club on the ice.
That, of course, was Cam Neely, Don Sweeney, and Jacobs with the Boston Bruins talking about Jeremy Swayman, the goalie, in this holdout situation.
Listen, that's starting to get ugly. That's getting real ugly, Chris. I mean, do you trade him?
Yes.
What are you doing him?
You got to trade him. You got to trade him at this point.
Jesus, did they pick the wrong goalie to keep, huh?
Should have kept Allmark at $5 million.
At $5 million, you should have kept Allmark.
And you could have extended him and probably given him 7 million.
Yep, and he probably would have been okay with it, Chris.
He would have been fine with it. He loved it here. He didn't want to leave. He never wanted to leave.
Nope,
loved Boston.
Swayman, they screwed that up. I mean, how do you put him back in that? Do you honestly see them signing him now?
Well, and to complete the to complete it, Swayman's agent then comes out and responds to that and says, normally I don't release statements. And this is Louis Gross, Jeremy Swayman's agent. I don't release statements or discuss negotiations through the media. However, in this case, I feel the need to defend my client. As at today's press conference, $64 million was referenced. This was the first time, they always say this. This was the first time that number was discussed in our negotiations. Prior to the press conference, no offer was made reaching that level. We are extremely disappointed. This was not fair to Jeremy. We will take a few days and discuss where we go from here. Now, Cam Neely is a lot of things. Okay?
Yes.
But he's not a liar.
No, I don't believe he is. No.
Now, do you want to negotiate in the press? That's how pissed off I think these guys are now at this kid.
Yeah, I think they're pissed off at this kid. Like, listen, they did right by him. They got rid of Olmark. They chose you. You're going to be our number one goalie. We're going to compensate you fairly. And now the kid's the kid's out of control, looking for all kind of crazy money. You know what I mean? And Chris, what has he proven? Has he ever won the Vezina? Like, what has the kid done? Has he won a Stanley Cup? Has he stood on his head for 7 games and brought the cup home to you? He's done none of that. So I mean, how much money can he possibly gonna get?
And it's reported that the $64 million is 8 years. So it's your $8 million. And Mark, I don't want to pay him. I don't want to pay a goalie $8 million. I don't think you need to in this league.
No,
get me a defenseman. Give me a top
Chris,
winger
look
or
at these
center.
teams that have won the Stanley Cup the last couple of years. They have goalies not making that much money. You're right. They're getting defensive guys. They're putting a team in front of them and around the goalie. The goalie's okay. The goalie's decent, but they're not $8 million goalies that are winning the Stanley Cup.
No, you had it with Colorado. You had it with Vegas. You had it with Florida. I mean, these teams, Tampa. Tampa had a good goalie, but
Tampa did.
But again, $8 million to me is absurd for them to even be offering that. And for this little spoiled brat to come out and be like, "No, I want $10 million." What planet are you living where you think you're going to get $10 million?
He hasn't done anything to this. Listen, I don't think no goalie's worth $10 million anyway. But
no,
even if you wanted to have the discussion, Chris, what has he done? He hasn't achieved anything yet.
Nothing. No, not to warrant that kind of money. I don't even think he's done enough to warrant $8 million, Mark, a year.
No, I think you are right about
Especially
that.
for 8 years. What are you going to do with this guy? I mean, I understand that the back end of that and, all that stuff. But, I mean, come on. Look, and then, the agent's doing what the agent does. I mean, that's fine. But they're at the point now where I don't blame them for being frustrated, but they're complicit in this. I mean, they should have seen this. They should have known better with this kid. They went, and by the way, they didn't go to arbitration. Like, he didn't want to go to arbitration, but the team,
I don't know. I don't know what that was about. But let me ask you something though, Chris. Why did they? I thought you had to go to arbitration though, Chris. I don't understand why he didn't. I don't think you can buy. So the team didn't opt into it. Is that what you're telling me?
No, the team and the player. I mean, you should know that this is coming. I mean, you should see this happening. With this kid, he's a little off to begin with, in my opinion. And you're going to disappear till December. No, Mark, you got to trade this guy at this point.
Yeah, because if you're not going to have him until he's going to sit until December, Chris. Yeah, you're
a restricted free agent, right? You're restricted.
Go get your money.
Yeah. So he's going to let some fool team give you $9 million, $10 million. You're not going to get it.
Nope,
it's not going to happen. Let him go.
No, let him go. Yeah, he's not getting that kind of money anywhere, Chris. Forget it.
No. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So we'll keep eye on that as Celtics and Bruins both start the season. But because Corso and Catone was presented by the Pats Nation Sundays, 8 a.m. Eastern. It's the first pregame show for the Patriots games. And it's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow because we're going to be getting ready for the Miami Dolphins, the tourless Miami Dolphins, a 3-2 game. That's probably what it's going to be at the end of that. So make sure you're tuning in and come back next weekend, noon Eastern. And we're going to recap that Dolphins game and so much more. We are Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. See you next Saturday.
Now by Corso and Catone on AM 790, The Score, iHeartRadio, iTunes, wherever you podcast. Or subscribe to the YouTube channel and catch the chaos every Saturday at noon.